This week in Warcraft, BlizzCon goodies pre-sale is up, and damn, they're expensive. The Baning plush is still pretty cool, so who knows. The Emerald Hippogriff is sadly going to be a recruit a friend reward, and there's going to be a mini Hearthstone tournament at BlizzCon. If they use the same cast as if they do at their videos of previews for Hearthstone, great. Can't wait to see that. I'm Mezzy, and welcome to WoW Weekly. And welcome to another episode of WoW Weekly. This time I'm joined by Matt. How are you doing, man?
I'm not too bad. How are you today? And how is Kangaroo?
Yes, Kangaroo, our very special guest. For those who know us more in game as well, Kangaroo is very special to us.
To you, Don. To you. I hate him.
Yes, well, Rolf wants him for president. I can't help it. I'm doing quite well. Sadly, we're just the two of us today. LJ left us.
How dare he
we'll
have
survive.
a life?
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll be shot at dawn for this indiscretion.
Yeah, I know, right? So, Kangaroo, how are you doing? No? Not much? Alright then. Maybe you'll speak later. Probably not, though. So, let's get started right away. First up is a tweet from Ghostcrawler. It caught my eye, and they were talking about loot in flex raiding and how that the players couldn't trade loot that they didn't need to other players. Now, Ghostcrawler gave a rather unexpected reply to that, namely that it's probably going to be required in the future. The actual, the way the loot system is now, that you get personalized loot like in LFR. And they're actually considering, for the future, that you'll be able to trade that personalized loot that you don't need to another player. Now that's pretty new, and I wasn't really expecting that. Do you think, though, that this could mean a completely different loot system for LFR, or not LFR, Flex in the future? Or are we actually going to be able to give our personalized loot to them?
It's touch and go to what I was saying. If they do what you're thinking, but you can give some of you to somebody else, I think that's a better way of doing it. The issue that people have at the moment is, I remember doing fights, I've had 3 of the same item that dropped, and I know that people have turned around and said, I wish I needed that, and those type of things. And the issue with it at the moment is, I know they want LFR to be the point where people who don't normally raid get the opportunity to see the fights. The problem they have is, if you go, I know I don't want to sound like a loot whore here, but people do LFR to gear up so they can do the normal raids. They don't do LFR so it's their only gist of raids. And as we experienced the other week, and as we said the other week, at the moment with LFR, most people normally do that to desperately gear up an ult, because if you had a choice and you had half a brain cell, you'd avoid LFR like the plague because of the level of people that are doing it at the minute.
Yeah.
It's painful. And I think all it would need is that one little tweak to it, that if you get an item you don't want, you can give it to somebody else, all sorted, and that's fine. You never know, you might get people, of course, that get items they don't want, and as most people don't even talk to each other on WoW anymore, it won't happen. But if you're in a guild group and you get someone else there, if you've got like 5 beer, then fair enough to let them swap it. I think it's
Alright.
I think it would definitely help out of it, because, like I said, I think I've done LFR. It's not been too bad. I've had a couple of items on my monk. I've done it a couple of times. I've had a couple of items, but then again, sometimes there's been someone I know that's had items dropped and didn't want like a ring or something for all the hunter friends, and they just turn around and said, "Oh, that's the third one of them I've had," and it's just wasted loot because 9 times they can't disenchant
Yeah.
it, so they just have to sell it.
But let's say they go with this route, then wouldn't that mean that potentially a flex raid could get, with even just 10 people, like 8 items if everyone is very lucky, just from one boss? I mean, it's
It,
interesting. It's always based on luck, of course. With normal and heroic rating, you have the definite chance of 2 items or 5 items
yeah,
on 25 men. So would that? I suppose they would have to balance it out though. Then would that mean a
yeah.
smaller drop chance per person?
I don't know. There's ways of getting around. I know what you mean. There is an issue that people could literally know they want to gear up one character in Flexly, go. Everybody have coins. Everybody like if it's a leather user, go with a couple of druids. Go with like a couple of monks. If it's a rogue, you want items for, if you know what I mean. And then every single every boss where there's decent items for them, roll on it. So you're bound to get items. There's ways of abusing it
Yeah. Well,
around.
what you were saying, coins, that would open a whole new can of worms, though. Because if you'd be able to trade coin loot, just imagine being able to do that on heroic mode.
Yeah. What
Wow. That would
that's me.
really change the dynamic for loot in total.
Thing is, with heroics and normals, that is easily changeable because I don't think they do it on normal heroic because you can trade the items drop. You can trade them anyway. This is just you
Yeah.
looking for flexing LFR when the loot system's different. I would not think they'd want to do anything with the current level of the raiding items at the moment
No, I suppose they
because it
could
would be
change it.
abused.
That it is just for. I'd say flex though. I'm not sure if they'd want to do that for LFR as well. That seems like a different style of play, and I'm not
Yeah,
sure you'd want to add that to flex.
I think
Not
that.
flex. Sorry, LFR.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, probably keeping it to flex rating at the moment, something like that, just of a bit of change because 9 times out of 10 the groups that go are friend groups or people that know each other, and that would be a better way of doing it. I just do think that the amount of wastage on some of the items that drop at the moment is quite depressing, but that's the way the loot system is. You get luck. People tried to abuse LFR in the past, got banned, so it's
Yeah.
a hard situation because I'm pretty positive didn't I believe it was Dragon Soul where a similar system that was that guilds found a similar way of doing it and basic of giving one person all the items
In
and
what
I
difficulty do
can't
you mean?
this was LFR.
In
It's
LFR.
it was the thing
Hmm.
I can't remember what it was. It was the people who listen to this probably know a lot more than me. I just know that it was one that basically destroyed the race for world first and stuff on the heroic because guilds were behind a week. Um, and if I'm right, it was just certain guilds were piling people into LFR, and they'd found a way of giving pretty much everything to one person. It's something along those
Okay.
lines.
Oh,
And
that's when LFR was still different, though. That was
yes,
when it
it was
still
still
had 5 items or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, that. Yeah,
And
okay, that was different.
they
Yeah.
managed to find out. I think it was the bug that if you didn't loot an item off that boss, it was still possible for you to actually get an item if you went back in with a different group and just picked it off the boss that everyone passed or something like that. I
Yeah,
think,
that sounds familiar. Yeah.
but the thing is, you don't want. You never know. It could turn into a way of exploiting against. So they might be scared of doing it, but we'll see.
Yeah, indeed we will. Although now that I'm thinking about it, adding that to heroic, especially with the coin loot, ah, that would be great.
Everyone,
Especially when you get the wrong freaking item. 2 items, and then you get the wrong one, and it's not Thunderforged, Warforged. Damn you,
oh,
Blizzard. Damn you.
well, I heard that expertise is your best stat. To be fair, as a hunter.
Well, now that I have some items from Orgrimmar, it isn't as bad as anymore. I think I'm at roughly the cap now instead of 3 or 4% over it.
Yeah.
Expertise was a terrible thing in Throne of Thunder.
Expertise. I'll say Ah, I'm not even going to get started on caps and stuff like that. That can be for another day.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? So let's move on. In a few days ago, I think yesterday or the day before, they posted a new 5.4 developer roundtable, which you can of course view on the WoW site. And one of the things they said was that the Timeless Isle is somewhat of a template for endgame world content going forward. How do you feel about this? Because if this is going to be a template for well, world content in the next expansion, it could get quite boring or grindy. I'm not sure if I'd be so happy with that. It's a nice change now, but to see something similar in the future, I don't know.
Do you have a shotgun and can you stick it in my head now?
Wow, that sums it up pretty good. How you feel?
Basically, it's a good gimmick for now.
Yeah.
Um, they messed up at the start because they threw way too many things at you, and so a bit later on in the day, we'll go a bit more detail into that. But with this particular aisle, it's novel. It's all right. It's but at the end of the day, they've badly designed it because you have to farm rep. The only area you can get rep is the smallest part of the island. So you've got if it, oh, I didn't even buy. I admit. I don't even think I'm honoured yet. I think I've only just gone friendly because there's just no point. I don't see the point. I don't even. I'm not. It's that bad. I've not even looked into. Are there any decent reward? Is there any actual point to get to exalt?
Um, if you farm 10, not 10,000, 100,000 coins, you can get a mount at Exalted. By the time you're Exalted, you're gonna have a lot more coins than that.
That's what I mean. But so that basically the only reason they basically created a area where the only reason to get to exalted is to get a mount, and and they also make you farm your ex rep on the smallest part of the island. If that's the template, if it's done better, if there is a much bigger area to farm rep, if it's a lot, it's like the Black Prince rep at the moment. You've got 3 or 4 different areas where you can get Black Prince rep.
Yeah.
I know it's taken a bit of time for that to happen. I know it wasn't all that originally, but if it was 3 or 4 areas on another expansion, then fair enough. It could work. It could be something. At the moment, say as I've said in the previous thing, I think when we were originally talking about this patch, I hated the Isle when
Yeah.
it first
Yeah.
came out. I thought it was misguided, very bad idea because of the way it was implemented. It was sort of like, go to this island, kill the mobs. There's no mobs, everything's dead.
Yeah.
And I'd like to avoid that type of feeling again, especially if you get the expansion. Yes, people are going to get there quick. I all doubt that we'll probably have a good all night and level quick and that type of stuff. But I don't know, it's not filling me with amazing confidence. Let's put it that way.
No. I think the Isle, at least for the reputation, isn't so bad, but that it's mainly because I'm just taking it slow. Doing the daily quest when I'm not Valor capped, so then I get some reputation every day. But for now, because no items are dropping, no items to upgrade means I'm still Valor capped, meaning I'm not going to waste time doing those dailies. And it's because the reward is so, casual, passive, not important, that I don't mind. I don't mind the Isle the way it is, but if it would be the same with more important rewards, no. That would be a horrible idea.
I can see it working if they did have more important rewards. I can see it working. I'm not afraid of a game that is a bit of a grind, if you know what I mean. So I play other games at the moment that make WoW look, Kate work.
Yeah, if I can interrupt you there, I suppose you do have a point there that if the rewards actually are more special, for example, Dragon Mob, which we will be talking about later, then if it was a hard grind, I suppose If you have the opportunity to do so, that could actually be worth it. I suppose you're right that if it offers a decent enough reward, then it'd be okay. Actually, I
Well,
might,
yeah, it
yeah,
just means that there's an incentive for people to do it. There's an incentive.
yeah,
People, I can remember when we very first everyone started this. People were getting to do groups to do their quest because it was the best way of doing it. People would group up, do it, blitz it, and that was all resorted. That's what you would bring into this. You bring it into the environment that hopefully it make people talk a bit more. Apart from like on this game at the moment, apart from in your guilds where people speak to each other, I'm pretty sure not many people speak to each other at all. And it's just the way the game's gone. It's just the way that people are on it.
yeah. It's how the community
Yeah,
sadly has developed.
it's how it's developed. Now, if it got to the stage where literally the only thing you could do was farm rep, it might force people again to go back to actually speaking to people and that type of thing. And you never know, it could be a good thing, but it does need some tweaks. It does need to make it worthwhile. And also not, how do I put this? When I first started playing Cataclysm,
Yeah,
that was worthwhile. That had some one or two items, not major items, but one or two items that meant that getting the rep for your certain thing was actually worthwhile.
yeah. But that was with the tabards, wasn't it?
That was with
That
the
was
tabard.
the
That was a
cataclysm
bit. It was a
rep
pretty
system.
annoying way of doing it, but at the end of the day, they made the rep worth getting. They made it. You didn't have to do all the reps. You just pretty much said, "Okay."
Yeah,
I believe I'm pretty sure it's Earthen Ring I needed. It's been a while ago, but or Man Hygel definitely was one of them. So you basically did that, got your rep sorted, one item just to help boost you along. Unfortunately, with Pandaria, it's never really been like that. There's never really been major upgrades, and it always just seemed to take that long. Now I can understand people, casual players, it's brilliant because they'll get some item doing stuff if they're not raiding. But for anyone that actually raids relatively quickly, it always sort of passes them by, and there's never really an item that helps them. If you know what I mean. I just think there are a
yeah.
lot
It
of people
was.
that play this game that raid quickly, and 9 times out of 10 the rep items are useless.
Yeah, it's felt mainly for profession stuff and the
Yeah,
achievements, and that
and
was
that
it.
like
For completionists, although we are going to talk about this very thing in the discussion
yes,
point, it was mainly for the completionists just such an issue to get everything done. So yeah, before we completely wear out that subject,
yeah,
let's move on to the next. So the one of the other things they mentioned is the more storage options issue for things like heirlooms, and toy items. Now they've already said this a few times, and I'm kind of getting tired of them just saying it. Shouldn't they just do it by now? I mean, if they talk about it so much, surely it is a priority actually for them to do.
I agree. There's a few things that they need to change at the moment. Is sort of like access to certain. I think transmog items. There should almost be a separate storage for transmog items, and when you go to transmog, it should open into that storage because it's annoying as hell having to go to your bank, get your one transmog item out, bung it
You
in.
can do that already.
Can you? I thought you couldn't.
Yes, since
Oh,
5.4.
oh. Do you know what? This
See,
show does not read anything. I do apologise for
yeah,
that.
wow, Matt.
Oh,
Okay, I'll explain
so
it to you.
annoying.
What you do is you go to the transmog guy, you click
Yeah,
the item you want to transmog, you
yeah,
click on the arrow, and you get a
yeah.
whole list of the items that you have, and you can click on the one you want to transmog into.
I'm depressed. I only do it on one of my characters, and I had to run around like a tit early because of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
depressed.
Well,
So anyway,
I'm
ignore my
glad
life,
you read the patch notes, eh?
oh, I listen to what you tell me. 9 times out of 10, I get bored of the patch notes because 90% of it
Yeah.
isn't about Druid.
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
okay, on that little annoyance. The rest of it,
The rest
I
of
don't
it
know.
still stands. I mean, they've
Ugh.
said it for a few patches now, and they still haven't done it. And it's actually really freaking annoying me. I mean, they talk about it all the time, so why don't they just do it? I mean, they
It's
have
part of
systems like the pets and mounts in place. Surely
yeah,
they can use that for stuff like heirlooms and toy items as well. Surely they can
yeah,
mark those items as toys.
yeah. You'd think that, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of these things. I just get wound up with my my bank anyway. I just
Yeah.
think they should allow more bank space and not rip you off for it. But
I think that is another issue with the structure of the servers or whatever.
yeah,
Something like that. And I was thinking though that basically they have it with the toy, not the toys, with the mounts and the pets. But then I suppose they could come into the issue with that the toys who are bound to a single character. How would they deal with that? Because right now they're kind of account things, so maybe
yes,
that's the issue that they're running into. It is again different tech, and
it
you
could be.
also have the issue of, we're complaining about they've been talking about it but haven't been doing it. But of course, it does cost time, so it's the question of, do we want more bosses or do you want the storage systems in place? Now, for me, honestly, with 14 bosses, they could have done 12 or 10, and I'd still have been happy with that, and then also have the storage system. It would solve some problems. I wouldn't mind. Most of
And
my
then,
bags are 28 slots anyway.
well, I'm lazy. I don't think all mine are just because I'm lazy and tight. But no, it might do. At the end of the day, I prefer. I prefer the content for having the 14 bosses because, to be fair, they need the 14 bosses to try and kill as much time as possible. And for the top guilds, that wasn't
Yeah.
particularly very long. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just one of these things at the moment where I don't know. It's just it's not the big thing for me at the moment. Say I don't worry about bags, but it does annoy me every time I look at my bag at the moment to think, okay, I've got that much rubbish in here, I've got that many mats, but I can't bother to put in the bank system. I know you're talking about that. I think they could utilise the bank system more, unless they've done that and I haven't read it through materials and that malarkey.
Yeah. They we used to have the key system. You had the key slot bag thing.
Yeah,
And basically, when they removed that and they turned that, I believe, into the void storage. So they really
yes,
do have issues with the structure or architecture for either the servers or just generally how the game is programmed.
yeah. Um, what I'm trying to think the best way of doing it. What best way of describing what I want to say? If they could utilize, like I've played other games before where literally, and you might turn around and tell me this has been done, I'm being an idiot again. I don't think it has done because I have had stuff in my bank and not been able to find it. That with other games where you farm items for a reason, people farm items for a reason, you get your bags and stuff like that. But 9 times out of 10, when people farm, they farm more than what's in the bag.
Yeah.
And then when you're going on the whole business of trying to get items and trying to farm, or make items on bulk, it's then accessing those items. If you can just bung everything in the back in your bank and then make the items no matter where you are,
Well, that would be interesting. I mean, um,
because that is
that
actually
would be a real gameplay design decision, though. Do they
yes,
actually want to do that?
that
Because
would
basically, one of the things they rightfully said is that part of the gameplay is still making the decisions of what items you're carrying with you, what items you pick up, and what you do
yeah,
with them. Do you delete them or, use them, sell them, whatever? So I'd say that's probably just a design decision they made on purpose, to keep the gameplay aspect still there.
yeah.
So
But
I don't think they'll do that.
so it might be
It would be
something they can look
fun.
into because I'm just lazy and don't like going to a bank all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I played other games where it has worked, genuinely worked very well. You
Mhm.
don't have to, but these are also other games where they have probably a worse and better bag system at the same time. Whereas in um, you get a lot more rubbish, bag space, a lot more limited on these games. But with it being a lot more limited, you get buttons that allow you to automatically bank items. Because I know it sounds silly, I know it might be part of the gameplay going to your bank and stuff like that, but they try and simplify the game so much all the time. If you know what I mean, they try and bring stuff into the fight, in stuff into the stuff that a lot of us would like to be more complex, more difficult
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
fights. They simplify everything
Yes.
else,
Yes.
yet something as simple as just having one button that automatically puts everything in your bag,
Yeah.
in your bank,
But
it won't do.
I know what you're saying there. But wouldn't people like us eventually start complaining then? Because that's another way they've made it then too easy, or quotes too easy. I'm not
I
sure
believe the
if they
term is
want to.
lazy.
Yeah,
More
we're
specific.
lazy. I
Yeah, I
know
like
we
to be
are.
lazy. I like fights
Yes.
to be hard. Everything else want to be lazy.
I don't know, because if you want everything else to be lazy, then all the grinding elements would also still be put out of the game. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I don't think that's the right direction they should go, because then they will continue the trend of making the community even more lazy, more laid back, and expecting everything to be handed to them. Of course, I'm generalizing here. People don't hate me. There's just a lot of people
we
who
all
are.
hate you.
There's just a lot of people who do act that way now.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Um, yeah, I don't think they should go that way. They need to slowly reverse the process that they've done. Just change one or two things, make them more hard, make them more grindy. When people
Back to
start
vanilla.
complaining, I won't say back to vanilla, because not all things were good in vanilla, or even the Burning Crusade, which is my favorite expansion.
Hey, everything was amazing in vanilla. I got told I couldn't heal the 40-minute Strathhome run because I was a druid.
Well, good for you, sir. But going back to the thoughts, they should, slowly start changing a few things back to being more grindy
Yeah,
or hard. When people start complaining, just say, nope, if you want to get something, you need to put the effort in. And slowly reverse the process, at least back to the Burning Crusade, not the Burning Crusade, Wrath of Lich King levels, and preferably back to the Burning Crusade levels. I'm
yeah, no,
sorry, people hate me. They will hate me for this, but that's really brought a lot more to the game. Instead
I
of
lo-
now being bored and just sitting around the freaking city.
yeah,
That's just
I
the
do
way it
agree with
is.
that. As I said, me and you are both
Yeah.
quite. I said it before. We've said it in previous podcasts. TBC for me was the best expansion so far. Not just it may be just because the content they had to work with. They had quite a rich core for that expansion. As we said last week, they had a iconic figure from the whole of Warcraft, sorry, to focus around to make people want to kill him at one stage, and they had. I thought they actually got the system actually not too bad. The all the dungeons, normal dungeons, challenging but pretty easy. You could pretty much go through maybe dungeon groups. Heroics were a challenge. The earlier heroics, not too bad. The harder heroics, I can remember doing heroic. Always say Alcatraz, but heroic Alcatraz. No, Alcatraz, the third one. I can remember doing. Yeah, Millhouse Milestone. I can remember doing that place and literally being there for 45 minutes on a trash pack. That's not because the group we had was completely desperately bad. It wasn't actually that bad. It was just, it
Yeah.
was a challenge. If you didn't do everything completely spot on,
Yeah.
you wiped. And I can remember, and literally, the respawn timers. No, it's actually the first boss. So it was one of the bosses. The respawn timers were so quick back then. It was
Yeah.
literally 35-minute respawn timers. If you didn't do anything, they'd respawn in 35 minutes. You're sitting there going, if we don't kill this try, we're really knackered here. And I just liked how hard it
Yeah.
was. I liked the progression. I liked the fact it went 10 man. People had to get used to 10 man. Then it went 25 man. And you had the first little single, the first single raid. to get people into it. Then you have Magtheridon to get all the achievements sorted, and once you've done all that, you can go and nuke the crap out of
Serpent Shrine and Tempest
Serpent
Keep.
Shrine and Tempest
Yeah.
Keep, and then moved
And
on.
you moved on, and
Yeah.
etc. etc. You had a real line of progression there.
Yeah,
Before we move on, it's going to look like when you're talking about Arcatraz that you're talking to yourself because I muted the wrong setting. So,
oh,
I know, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, if we continue down this line of thought, though, we've gone over it multiple times, and we'll come back to it a
yes.
tiny bit. So let's move on. I think that would be best.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So yeah, the final part I want to talk about for the news segment is also from the developer roundtable and really more just of a fun thought. Let me get the exact quote. The gnome race didn't exist when the original WoW cinematic was being worked on, which is why they didn't appear in it. Since then, there hasn't been a good opportunity to showcase gnome in a cinematic. So, my question is, and of course the answer is yes, is it time for gnomes to make an appearance in the next expansion's trailer? I believe so.
No.
Alright, why not?
The gnomes.
Oh,
Like,
really?
almost annoying as goblins.
Well,
No.
no. They,
Gnomes.
I mean, I like to bitch on moans just as much as the next guy. Has sacrificed the gnomes at the start of the raid to have luck. But they are iconic to WoW. I think it would be funny. It would be great to finally see them in the cinematic.
One thing I will say is what has brought gnomes to me more close to my heart
Okay.
is the current raid when all of a sudden you're thinking, God, that's a lot of trash.
Yes.
And then the
yes.
king of the gnomes comes in with all of his little gnomey pals
Yeah.
and just shrinks everything and frees everything. You're like, oh, yeah, this is good. And this
Yeah.
isn't spoiler, people. LFR's open now. Do it.
Is LFR open for that wing now? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah, I suppose that is the third wing. It would be.
So-
And then the last wing will be Siegecrafter, Paragons, and Garrosh.
No, just Paragons and Garrosh, I think.
Really?
Yeah, because this one is. Oh no, is it? Oh no,
It would seem strange because you go
No,
to
it is
Thok and then
Siegecraft-
you'd have to run
yeah.
back.
it is Siegecrafter. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
3. Yeah, it is Siegecrafter. So I think,
Yeah. I
Yes.
obviously don't do LFR or I haven't done Flex because frankly 14 bosses a week is exhausting enough right now. So
yes.
I wouldn't know what the wings look like exactly.
But yeah, so
Excuse me.
it's out at the moment, and it is pretty cool. At the end of the day, it would. Serious note, it would be quite nice. They are quite a beloved little race, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, little cute things, just pat them on top of their head to say, "Oh,
Yeah. Well, it will be hard for them though, unless it's a Burning Legion expansion. And they, what I would love to see, taking a step back for a second, I would love to see a trailer, a la Classic or the Burning Crusade, just going back to kind of the random stuff, but still having some sort of storyline in it. Have a mix of how the different cinematics have been going. Then they could put the gnomes in. Otherwise, whether it's the Naga or the Burning Legion, whatever we're gonna get, it wouldn't fit if the gnomes would be in. And I guess from that point of view, yeah, gnomes don't really fit in anywhere. Ha. Ha.
yeah.
Alright, so let's move on. Let's see, so we're already at the boss review. The fourth boss is the Shout of Pride. Now, you finally faced the final Shan Siege of Orgrimmar, and it has a pride mechanic, Groan. Now, you get pride from different mechanics, and there are always ads, well, not always, but regularly ads that you have to kill. And yeah, another mechanic is that you have to free people from prisons. Now, as always, you know what, Matt? Go for it. Go on.
Well, one of the most boring fights to hear on the history of the planet. No,
No? Okay. No, you obviously completely missed it.
I
Now,
did.
as
Sorry.
always, you can check my guide for the full details on
Oh,
the boss.
sorry. I need to say this. I need to do my line. I do apologise, people.
Yes, how about you try it again?
I'll try this again. If you'd like to look at these tactics, go to BB Mezzi and look at the Mezzi raid guides.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I obviously should have that recorded from now on. Every time we get to that part in the podcast, just let that MP3 play.
Live, so much better.
Yeah. Now, obviously, it is another step up in difficulty, and I think it is a good boss to end in the first wing. However, the best part for me is that it's the last boss for quite a while that has a corruption type mechanic.
Yes, I do agree with that. Like, the whole
Yeah.
first part is sort of throwing them at you continuously. To be fair, even though I said it's like one of the most boring fights ever, when we first did it, I have to say, first impressions was I did enjoy the fight. On a serious note, I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
It was a nice fight to finish the first four bosses off. It wasn't particularly amazing difficult. Was it a step up from the previous fight? Probably not. I would have
I
to
think
say
it
that.
was a tiny bit, but
It's-
the step difficulty kind of was Immersius and Fallen Protectors, both pretty easy, and
Yeah.
then step up in difficulty with Notion and Shout of Pride. They're
Yeah.
similarly difficult. They just have different mechanics to deal with.
And it just depends how you deal with the mechanics and that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I would have to say it's not a bad way to finish the first four bosses. Now, unfortunately, when you do get geared out of it and you're not doing it on a hurry, yeah, it does seem depressingly boring. It's one heal and stuff like that. People may have done it in the first place.
Yeah.
I know what gear they had, and
Yeah.
You just
what
want to
we
sleep through
really
it.
have to consider is that, let's face it, we outgeared by a lot.
yeah,
And it's really designed for, well, maybe not 522, but 525 average or something like that, item level.
yeah. So,
So for that, it's a pretty good boss.
for that, yeah, it would be a challenge that everything would be slightly tight on it, and it's another ad management fight. Make sure the ad dies, avoid
Yeah.
stuff, make sure that ad dies.
If you get high
Free
enough
the big-
pride, step in the thing with a green arrow above it.
Yeah.
And don't get mind controlled by reaching 100 pride.
So that's pretty much it. But I think the highest we've ever got to, I don't think I've ever seen anyone above about 50.
No, not in normal mode. That is what we're discussing after all.
Yes.
Oh dear
So-
God, when we get to heroic, that's gonna be fun. Well, we've already seen it. We'll get it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think there's anything else to say for Shout of Pride normal.
No, so
It's a simple fight. I just realized that what I had planned for showing didn't happen. So here, enjoy, people, the first 5 seconds of what was supposed to be. From now on, when we talk about a boss, you'll see video footage of it, and usually it'll be footage from the guides without actual sound.
normally Mezzi will die as well and that type of thing, so that'll be fine.
Oh yeah, because we can only kill something on heroic if I die in the video. Otherwise, we're not allowed to kill it.
I know, that's the ultimate thing. We actually have to sacrifice you before every
Yeah.
fight. Don't know.
Worst thing is, I don't know if you've seen the Galacross video yet, but of course I die. Other attempts, no. The kill, yes. So, this week we do not have a whatchamacallit, a commercial. We're going to skip that for a week, and we're going to go straight on to the discussion point. So, let me start the whole story again, as usual. Now, over the lifetime of WoW, reputations have been used for different things. They almost always include some kind of loot or character advancement, I should say. But other things as well. Think along the lines of attunements for heroic dungeons, or raids for that matter. Titles, mounts, achievements, all that good stuff. Now, there were also different ways to get the reputations at the different points in the game over the lifetime of World of Warcraft. Now, think stuff like dailies, but also reputation tabards, or running specific dungeons over and over and over to get the reputation, or perhaps just reputation from raids. That's something. Have we seen that in this expansion? I
No, we
don't
haven't.
think so. No, it's. I think this is the first expansion without that.
I think it probably is, yeah.
So yeah, that's different actually. Hey, I'm gonna miss that now. So anyway, at the start of Mists of Pandaria, there were many factions which you had to grind out through dailies. Now, really, they didn't give that much advancement, in all honesty, except for an achievement and profession stuff. Maybe a Valor Point epic item that you would be able to buy. But other than that, not much. Now, it wasn't well received because people want to complete everything they can, especially when it's something that isn't difficult, but it still requires time. Then people will still do it. And, well, personally, I think a daily cap would have solved that issue. Just make people choose again, like back in the day. I know, I'm old, played blah blah blah. But instead, I don't really want to talk about the dailies themselves because we've already talked about that. But I want to talk more about the concept of reputation. Now, what should it be used for, and which mechanic or mechanics should be used to gain reputation? Now, I personally liked having to grind the reputations out to Honored to be able to do heroic versions of dungeons. For example, normal Shattered Halls was the one.
Yes.
To get a reputation with Honor Hold, I believe it was. Now,
Yeah.
when you reached Honored with Honor Hold, you would be able to buy a key, which allowed you to do the heroic versions of the 3 Hellfire dungeons. Which I think, and that was for the other different reputations and dungeons in the Burning Crusade as well. And I liked that you could do that. Now, I would like that to see, I would like to see that come back, because it gave more of a layered path of progression. Sadly, today, due to the player's mentality, that wouldn't really be received well. So I'm not sure how well that would go down now. But it's, I'm almost done. There's a lot of different things I want to get out there before we continue.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now, I still feel that could be done, however, for a challenge mode type content. Not challenge modes themselves, as far as I'm concerned, they are gone. I don't really like them. The whole timed thing. I already said that, I know. But something along the lines of harder heroics, like we had in Burning Crusade, if you actually had to do something to be able to get there. Now, what I also would like Reputation to see, for Reputation to happen, is something like the Dragomoth faction with the Nether Drake type of reward. It's a grindy, long effort that takes a few months, some very special quests like the race, and in the end you get a reward that doesn't increase your power, but is unique to the game that you haven't seen before, or completely different from the same type. Mounts were already in the game, but the Nether Drake as a flying mount was a whole new thing. People really loved those. Now, obviously, you can see that the Burning Crusade, from my point of view, was WoW's prime time. But yeah, let's go on. I'll always have that bias. For me, though, dailies should become less common for reputations, and they should be used more diversely. Think of the Simon Says daily as well, for example. So, now with all those different aspects, Matt, how do you see reputations, and how would you like them to move forward? Because, let's face it, they need to change it.
As going from what you've said, they got it wrong. We've already gone on the dailies thing and stuff like that before. In my eyes, they got it wrong this expansion, not because of the dailies. It was just because your reputation rewarded you, not really with any decent items. There wasn't really anything um, good to get from the initial ones, if you know what I mean. There wasn't anything good for your class. There was maybe a couple of good items that sort of you may have replaced in the first week, but there was nothing really worth keeping that made you want to grind that rep. And your reward for grinding that rep was more dailies, more rep.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that is definitely a bad way of doing it. It's just not. It's not a way. Okay, people like the grind and stuff. It just isn't a good way of doing it. It didn't like. I agree with you. If there's a small, I don't want there
A
to be loads
cap
of
would have
rep.
solved that.
Yeah, Cap would have sold it. I don't want there to be loads of rep because I'm not a great fan of rep farming. I do agree that TBC again. We both agree was the prime time we like. We both love TBC. I do think something along the lines of a similar way of doing it to what that was would have been nice because at the end of the day, we like you never had to get to Exalted. It was you were normally there. You had to probably do like the level 80. I think you pretty much had to spam the level 80 dungeons that were a
Yeah.
challenge that were pretty hard. I can remember doing stealth runs because I was a druid. My partner, fiance at the time, was a rogue, and we knew another couple of druids. We basically did stealth runs of some of the dungeons, and we were farming and farming and farming just to get the rep. And it was just a way that we figured out of doing it, and we enjoyed doing it. And that you got your little reward afterwards. Then you started the heroic versions, and of course, some hit you in the face very hard with a knife, and they were a real good challenge and something that personally I felt was a reward, even though it was hard. But it was a reward for the little bit that you had to do to get there. And I just think anything like that would be a bonus in the next expansion. Rep, they do it the whole way. That's one way of doing it. As you said, look at the island now. Just farm lots of mobs for a little bit of rep that gives you nothing. Isn't the way of doing it.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't start throwing mounts. Because no offense, there's few amount of people out there. There's few people who will literally chop the right arm off for a mount. I would actually chop my left arm off for the new mount out at the moment, which is Mezzy. You know which one I'm talking about.
No, I don't. Is it the Sky Golem? Is it the
Yes,
Hippo?
Sky
Okay.
Golem.
Well, you should have said that because I used mine last night.
I did tell you that.
Oh,
I said
did
I
you?
would give you my left arm.
Hmm.
You git.
Huh.
But no, and so I've never been a big mount person myself. This is all personal, and I just think that rewarding you for farming putting a lot of time into farm rep, which in essence is pretty pointless, by giving you a mount which 9 times out of 10 doesn't look amazing. I do agree with what you were talking about with the
Dragon Ball.
with the no, was it Dragon Maw?
With the Nether Drake ones, right?
Oh yeah, Nether Drakes. Yeah, I do. But I also agree with you. What they did in this expansion, well, the one bit of rep, which was the for getting the flying dragons, getting the serpent dragons.
Oh yeah,
I
but
forgot
that's
the rep there.
it felt so underwhelming, that one.
It did, but I didn't mind that one because at the end of the day, it wasn't just a mount. It was a very specific type of mount.
Yeah.
It was something completely different, and you were only doing it. And it was the way they did that. You saw your little mount grow, if you know what I mean.
That was cool.
It was
in all
so cute,
fairness.
man.
And it grew up to become your mount.
That I've never used since I got it because I'm a druid.
You're so cruel. You're so cruel.
I'm a
Although I do have to say, hello, I'm Mezzy, and I'm a mountaholic. I have
Oh.
201 mounts. 202 actually now. So yeah, if there's a mount, I'll get it. At least as long as it doesn't cost too much.
Oh,
Or
so-
is
yep.
from the not the Burning Cruises. The trading card game, for example. I wish I had the gold to buy the chicken mount, but sadly no. But yeah, going back to the point of reputation, basically they need to use it more
Wisely.
efficiently, more diversely, and um, put some more depth into the game. Have
Yes.
more of a progression path than just level 90 into heroics, get some items, LFR, and etc. etc. That it's underwhelming. That
Yeah.
it needs to be diverse.
It does. It needs to be diverse. We need to and just give us ideas and that type of stuff. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Um, I don't really think there is anything else to say for reputation,
Yeah, I
though.
think we've covered it. So
Yeah, they just need to
it's
be more. Yeah, they need to be more handy with it. I don't know. Blizzard, if you're watching, make some smart decisions. Come on, make the game more fun.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess that's it. I honestly have no idea how long this week's WoW Weekly is.
Oh,
So, let's just wrap it up. Thanks, resident Jedi slash Wookiee slash whatever you are, for joining us this week. Joining me, yeah. Also, though I suppose you could count Kangaroo as a second entity.
this is for Rolf. You've always got to count
Yes.
kangaroo.
Rolf, you finally got an episode, if you're watching, with Kangaroo. Now you can shut up about it. Alright, so, you can of course check out my guides, etc., all my video content out on my YouTube channel. Comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think about the new setup with video. Do you enjoy it? Does it make the podcast more interesting for you, for example, to keep watching? Because let's face it, I've looked at the statistics. It does seem to be that case. And I guess the most important question of all, would you like to see Kangaroo back? He's quite a busy animal. He's president, apparently. I don't know why. You'll have to ask Rolf about that on Emerald Dream EU. I guess for now, I'm Mezzy, and as always, until next time.